And there's a lot of publications. Anything you see here today, you can either contact us afterwards or get on our website. So what we're here to talk to you about is infrastructure. A bit timely after our local elections we've had. And despite things to the contrary, we have a fairly extensive approach to infrastructure. It's called a linear approach. We source, we treat, we use, we dispose. It's quite simple. It's worked for hundreds of years. Quite changed. Well, one of the big focuses that we've been working on at European level is the circular economy. And within the circular economy, there's a big focus on resource recovery, which is a change of mindset from treating and disposing to actually reusing, recycling, and trying to identify a product, a development that you can use. All of the work that we're involved in is also looking at restoring our ecosystems, and the theory being that if you have such an infrastructure approach, it should be resilient, particularly in the context of climate change. So really what we want to talk to you in the next couple of minutes is, is this all kind of green bling, or is it actually reality? And I want to share some of the experiences we've had across Europe and some of the projects and some of the technologies we've been involved with. So the approach we've been involved with is looking across the board at technology, market, finance, policy and training. Basically to implement an infrastructure like that. What we're just going to focus on today is the technology aspect.
I'll take this here. This is nature-based solutions is what we're talking about. And they are solutions that are both natural and constructed systems which utilise the physical, chemical and microbiological treatment processes. And these are the processes that underlie wastewater, water treatment and also hydraulic infrastructure. They may be low cost, not necessarily. They have low energy requirements and provide added value through ecosystem services. Added value is defined as the benefits that accrue from nature to humankind, and therefore we are getting more than just your technological answer. And within nature-based solutions, these benefits include climate change, water, wastewater use, resource recovery and reuse, and restoration of degraded systems. So again, our nature-based technology covers this range of climate change, wastewater, restoring ecosystems. We're involved in this Nature Walk, that's where this paper is coming from. Nature Walk is an action group of the EIP, the European Innovative Programme, and we're involved with those countries that you can see there. You want to take a next?
Yeah, so the technology portfolio that we're working with is across 4 key pillars. And some of the work that we're one of the partners, as I said, within NatureWalk. So some of the work we've been involved with, for example, has been resource recovery, looking at water. A number of years ago we were involved in the Department of Environment, looking at rainwater harvesting, to see was it technically feasible, what the quality issues were, what quantity. So, did it make economic sense? Sorry, this is a bit like a 6-year school gig, but we should plow on regardless.
Don't call us Northern Hardy.
Or counter. So, look across domestic agriculture and school type systems. And one of the big requirements was to look at quality. The department was concerned, especially in terms of domestic systems. So we had a number of pilots involved with Cardiff County Council, with the National Federation for Water Schemes. So we monitored over a period of years the water quality, and you can see there, we found it consistently of a high standard. One of the issues also is looking in terms of demand and supply, and again, one of the limitations to this technology, particularly in Ireland, is that it's only at the moment considered for toiletries, non-toiletries. That's a big impediment to developing the market further, because you can see the demand is much less than the supply. And one of the things, particularly with a lot of the systems we see, and this is maybe something we need to overcome, is that reused water is not necessarily less than mains water in terms of cost. You can argue water charges, etc., and there may be imperatives to look at reuse, recycle within the circular economy, but that certainly is a barrier across a number of these technologies. We looked at an agricultural system, one of our pilots up in Meath. Again, there's our consumers in the top right hand corner, and again, a lot of quality issues as you would expect with the environment, with the contamination. And we also looked at a school system. Within the school system, we were specifically looking at could we reduce the demand-supply issues to make a low-cost system, and it supplied about 50% of the water usage. So we also looked at nature-based wastewater treatment systems.
This is rebed out in Newcastle, County Dublin. Hybrid rebed with verticals, horizontals, and it discharges into a willow bed at the end. So there's the willow bed at the back. Low tech, it was on a County Council site. There you can see a young fella rehabilitating the bed. Basically very low tech, willow bed at the end. And we had zero discharge. These are the overall performance of the rebed. You can see reduction BOD, COD, solids, ammonia and phosphates. And we had no discharge from the willow bed over the 2 years of operation. Now this is
So one of the systems we looked at in the nature-wise across Europe, the idea is to bring technology portfolio from different countries to examine how robust the systems are. This is one of our partners, Limnos in Slovenia. And in Slovenia, it's widely considered for remote communities, nature-based systems, but they also look at sludge treatment. So what you're seeing there in the bottom is a natural treatment system with sludge. So there's no offsite cost in terms of tankering. Also, this is one of our partners in UPC, the University of Polytechnic in Catalonia in Barcelona. Again, looking at a number of local authorities in the north of Barcelona, looking at sludge treatment systems using treated wetlands.
And the graphic up on the left is to show the evapotranspiration that takes place, also your drainage, and also your mineralization of sludge. So the length of time you would be without the sludging would be about 10 years. This is again centre of Barcelona. It's a wetland that also serves as an environmental amenity. And you can see there it's treating wastewater from industrial wastewater and also partly some wastewater from a wastewater treatment plant. And you can see it's in the centre, it's a wetland. It's in the centre of the city. Next one up is, this is from Holland. This is what's called an inland shore. And it's Lake IJssel, which is about 16,000 square metres. The north of Holland, fresh water supply is taken out of it. So the water quality was an issue. Ecosystem services were what they were looking for in the design. Some recreation to improve the fish stock and also to get rid of eutrophication.
So they had, it being Holland, it was 1.5 metres below sea level. So they had a number of options that they explored, conventional technology for water storage, water treatment, but they're also concerned with climate change. So they developed this inland shore, and very simply, it was a way to connect the lake system back into the inland. So there's an in and out there, which is via a windmill, backed up by a generator. And the idea that they're looking at is basically to start to harness nature and to make it more resilient. Kind of the themes that we're talking about.
And the big theme here is, as you saw there, is they're building nature in. Normally we build in nature. Here they're building nature into the design.
So this is the lake, and what you can see there was agricultural land. And it was developed as part of an innovation pilot. So they proposed this solution, they won an award, they said, okay, let's see if we can figure it out. So it was basically a test lab. So what they did was, as you can see here, the engineer left the room for half an hour, the architects took over, and lo and behold, this was born, literally. And this is the whole concept of ecosystem services, because it functions as a natural park. People are brought in, they're not kept separate from the treatment or the water. They're brought in, they can experience it, they can, in terms of fishing, in terms of walking, etc. It's a vital component of the whole concept.
It's a demonstration site, so it's tactile. People can go in there, they can feel, see and touch what's going on. And here you've got close-ups of increasing biodiversity, the water quality is improved, and you've got a water storage facility. A 1 metre cube rise in level is 80 cubic metres, 80,000 cubic metres.
Yeah, so, and again, apologies, you can see it's a bit of a kaleidoscope of technology. The idea is to get across that these things work, how they work, and the fact that they're monitored. This is from one of the Metropolitan Board in Barcelona, who's another partner in Nature Watch, who we're open with in Spain. And this is obviously, they suffer the opposite to Netherlands in terms of lack of water. So this is managed aquifer recharge, where they take in wastewater from the river and also mix it with river water, and they basically use it through quite an innovative system there that they recharge the water, and the water is treated before it gets back into the aquifer. So there is technologies. There is a wide range of technology portfolios. They're monitored, they're evaluated. So what's the problem? Well, we would say, and again, you can argue, but some of the studies that we propose would say, well, one of the problems is that, and I'm an engineer, Sean is a scientist, so we can argue ourselves amongst this, but many times in developing the solution, it's developed along a linear approach. We don't tend to look at the multidisciplinary in terms of evaluating the problem and the solution from the start. We do have quite a widespread consultation process. I've been involved with consultancies myself. But consultation doesn't necessarily mean participation. It means we present the problem to you, we ask your opinion, and we may or may not adapt it. Participation is crucial for all these systems that we've been working with. And one of the things is they are site-specific. So replication just of the technology across the system may or may not be possible. We have to look at its nature-based. So it's a dynamic process. And with that dynamic process obviously comes risks, which is again an issue in terms of, particularly if you're a local authority or department official. Our current legislation is focused towards reducing risk to the environment, not allowing reuse of water, although there is draft guidelines which were over at one of our working groups recently that have been published. And then, this is an issue. The cost of reused water may be greater than mains water. So you have a strategic decision to make, in terms of climate change, etc. Pure economic drivers may not be a factor in terms of in favour of some of these systems. Sean?
Like the demonstration sites. I mean, again, we were talking to you about that one in Holland. If we're going to move towards NBS systems, and Europe are moving that way, and the circular economy of water is pushing us that way, we need demonstration sites. We don't have them here. There's also a learning by doing is not one thing that favours that the engineers favour, and also investors are a bit scary about it. But we have to take on board that we must learn from our mistakes, but we have to change our methodology. Lack of skills and competency along the entire supply chain, from design, planning, regulators, etc. There's not enough. We probably need what we would call hybrid engineers, hybrid architects, people who will come in with other skills besides just plain blinkered technology. They need to be an awareness of the wider application monitoring programs, which are time consuming and expensive. Thanks.
So 6 months into our project, we have our conclusions. We haven't presented this to EPA yet, because that's unreal. But basically, we need to act differently, think differently, and interact differently. And what do we mean by that? And this, we being Nature Watch across Europe. Well, we act differently basically, and again as engineering, we tend to build in nature and try to limit the damage to the environment, etc. All of these systems and technology is different. It's building nature into the process, evaluating that.
Not alone that, it's designing water in, not designing water out. And one of the big problems we've had over the last number of years in Ireland is we're not designing water in, we're designing water out, and we're pushing it, we're kicking it down the road. We should be designing water in, building nature in. Now, this is where the vegetarians here, sorry for this. We should see water and wastewater as a resource, not a waste. What does the butcher do when he sees a chicken cover? He says, what can I get out of this? That's the way we should be looking at waste anymore. We've done that with solid waste. We have to get to do it with water and wastewater. There shouldn't be a wastewater. The only water we should have is wasted water that's in excess. It shouldn't be called wastewater. And the last one is top down. We should involve the community. It should be bottom up. We've all seen in Ireland the problems without consulting with the community. The community should be on this way the word go. It should be bottom up. It may take a little bit longer, but in the end, that's where it's going to happen.
So that's the end of the sermon. Thanks very much. Go, please.